Hello and welcome. So in this one I'm going to be talking about something called artifact alchemy, which is very similar to metal refining. Now, alchemists were valued partly due to their ability to refine metals. It's actually quite a little bit of a practical work and something that you need to learn, which is turning raw ore, so something that you mine from the ground or stones, etc., into a piece of metal or something else, or turning crystals, etc. And I guess also the art of the magician. If you've read enough magical books, you know about talismans, and this is actually how you create a talisman, which is what I'll speak about, is this artifact alchemy. A talisman is usually a spherical or coin or disc shaped piece of metal or piece of wood or something that magical symbols are inscribed upon, and then a ritual is held for it. So very simple, a shape that can then be enchanted. You don't really have to do the symbols, and it can be any shape you want, but yes. Now, artifacts are a little bit more complex. If you take a look, for example, there's a great Chinese sword. In fact, I'm going to try to find it right now. This Chinese sword was found in an emperor's tomb, I believe about 3,000 or 4,000 years old. Ancient Chinese sword. And the sword is, I think it was a copper arsenic, no, maybe copper antimony combination. And is this it? And it didn't rust. It looked honestly not a day old. Oh, it's beautiful. Here we go. Gorjan. Yes, I found this article on it, and this is definitely what I would think of as an artifact, and it has an incredible crisscross or diamond shaped. I don't know if it's kind of like a similar to Damascus steel, how they roll metal. Maybe it was rolled in that way, but I don't know how they would flatten it out. But anyway, you look up Gougin, Jan, I think means sword, Gorjan. Very beautiful, beautiful sword. But anyway, that is to an extent an artifact. I don't know if it actually was, but either way, it's a beautiful piece of craftsmanship. So an artifact can be anything. It could be a musical instrument, it could be a weapon, it could be a cooking instrument, a tool, for like a hammer or something. It could even be a house, it could be a brick. There were bricks that would be made with special metals. You would put the shavings of gold and silver and copper and tin and such in these, and they would attract spiritual energies. So also, if you've read Franz Barden's work, you know about fluid condensers. A fluid condenser is a liquid, or, well, even just, I guess you could say an object as well, something that condenses spiritual energy into it. Usually, if I remember correctly, he had either an oil or a liquid with metal powder, metal shavings in it, and supposedly that would be something that pulls it in, spiritual energy. Similarly, there was this idea about a magical bowel made with Electrum, and old school Electrum, there's multiple ideas for it. One is copper, gold and silver, but this one was made from a special kind of Electrum made of the 7 metals, so an iron, a tin, a copper, gold, silver, mercury and a lead. And supposedly this bell had magical powers. Now, the important thing to know about artifacts is that the physical body is physical body. You make that out of actual physical tangible materials, but its magical effect is to do with the ritual, but it's also to do with the metals or the items. It could be metals, it could be woods, it could be oils, herbs, animal parts that you put into it. The objects act as a resonator, as we will find out. It acts as a magical resonator. For example, gold has the ability to grant a feeling of radiance, and greatness, kingliness, almost familiarity. Silver's it's cold and healing and lets you sleep and rest and kind of relax a bit more. So everything has its quality, and I recommend you look up in some old alchemical, astrological, magical books to see the relation between minerals, herbs, animals, and all natural things and their astrological properties, or planetary, or elemental for that matter. That will tell you how to figure out what to use for your work. You also have to get the items into a proper form, combine them. Excuse me. For example, if you wanted to use metal, you need to get the metal into either powder for casting, or you need to roast the ore and powder it down, you crush it down. If it's wood, you need to pick the correct sizes, the correct types. If it's maybe animal or herbal, you want to turn it into an oil, or turn it into a salt or some other kind of form. It all depends on what you're trying to make, of course. You have to be very bit creative, and you have to know a bit of alchemy to do this. So to summarize it, the idea of this artifact is to make a special item, and this item will depend on you. Common examples of weapons, great weapons that kings and commanders would wield. They would have crystals in them imbued with gems, and they would be made of special metal alloys. And then special oils would be rubbed on them, and they would be smoked in incenses, and magical rituals chanted on them. This is how you make a magical artifact item. For example, a musical instrument, you could make it out of a special kind of wood. If you needed the skin of an animal, or the guts of an animal, you take it off a very particular one. Maybe if you wanted it to have the qualities of a tiger, like the solar kind of radiance, you would take the guts of a tiger and use that to make extremes. Who knows what you want to do? Or you would make the varnishing out of the fat of that animal, the paint out of specific herbs, and again the fat of specific animals or specific, again, herbs. And this would grant it a physical quality because it would smell like it, it would feel like whatever you're trying to do. Maybe you embed the instrument with special gems as well, or you use the gems to paint it with. You can make mineral paints. Mineral paints were very important in this kind of artifact work. Paints now are made with acrylic, but they used to be plastic, and well, that's the oil carrier, at least. The colors, I'm not sure what they use for the colors. Usually it should be some kind of chemical, but back in the day they'd be made with usually minerals, and the minerals would have a special relation. For example, antimony can make a beautiful white, red, and silver. Again, cinnabar can make a beautiful red, and Yeah, so there's many different kinds of mineral paints that have these kinds of resonation quality. Yes, you have to try to think the spiritual quality of something is dependent on its physical quality. So if you make something out of physically relating materials, and this is where you have to be a bit of a craftsman, you have to be quite good at this stuff. It does take some time to learn, admittedly, but you get better at it better. And you will find that when you use these special materials, your physical product will have this different quality to it. That's why craftsmanship exists. If you get a well-made object or whatever it is, it has a special quality to it. And then, as I said, it's up to you to do the ritual. Very different kinds of rituals. You could do them on specific times of the moon, specific times of the sun. For example, the sun being in Aries, it would be good for martial, energetic, warring. The sun being a Libra for more diplomatic, more peaceful, more harmonious energies, etc., etc. And yeah, the astrology does play an important part. Of course, you can do it when it's not perfect, but you just kind of have to be a bit stronger and all that. I remember there was this drum. I forget if it was in the Picatrix. I think it was there. It teaches you how to make it. And apparently, the drum, if you play it and you think of a person, you can kill them. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. I hope you think that's funny as well. Some people will think it's quite untasteful. I don't care. And the drum would be made of, special materials and then blessed on a special date. Who knows if it actually works? I think it would be quite interesting. Maybe not the most important thing to play with, but maybe for historical purposes, who knows? Yeah, so it would be special mirrors, I remember, that would be imbued with various fluid condensing oils and left out in the moonlight. So also where it's made, the heat, what kind of fires you make this with, the locations, etc., as I said. So the time and location are important. Everything matters to an extent. Of course, the better you are at this, the less you have to care, so to speak. But more on the ritual. Some books will give you rituals for special talismans and artifacts, but ideally you want to learn how to do it yourself. Realistically, all you have to do is hold the object and connect it with your energy. And first you want to kind of activate it with your energy, run the energy through, and you want to feel it out, feel its interesting qualities from all the things that you've put into it. Feel the energy that it gives off back into you. And then you want to program it by pressing and willing and feeling and pushing into it, the wills and the ideas and such. If you want it to give you more luck, you capture the feeling of luck and change its energy, imbue it into it for, do it for a good 10 minutes or something, and you'll have a simple charm or talisman of luck. And if it has, Jupiterian qualities, maybe you rubbed it with kind of like a juniper wood or berries or something, it would take that on. So yeah, that's a very simple ritual. There are, of course, I'm going to read a little bit from the Picatrix, a section that I really like, which has one of these recipes. It's a very impressive and powerful stone. This is really a strong... Excuse me one second. Definitely a powerful and impressive stone that I've always wanted to make. But a few of these are difficult to make because they have like tigers' hearts and all kinds of crazy materials, rubies and gold. You got to find one that is realistic to make. So anyway, this is book 3 of the book 3 of the Picatrix, chapter 10. Yes, alright. So Aristotle in the book of Antimachus already mentioned, which he composed for King Alexander. recounted that the confection of 4 stones which have miraculous powers and effects. So this is the second stone that I'm talking about. The second stone is named Helmet. This stone is to be made against rain, hail, and snow, for when any of these is about to fall, raise a stone upon your right hand, and you will be free from them. This stone is spotted in color, and it is made in the following way. So yeah, that's quite interesting. You raise it, and the rain just kind of goes away. Anyway, I'll read it out for you. Take 4 ounces of hellebore and melt it with white soap water on the fire. When it is melted, put 4 ounces of silver and 4 ounces of lead into it. When all this is melted together, take it off the fire and work with the spirit of the work. Take bones from the 4 feet and hind feet of a pig which have been cleaned well of the flesh and tendons, and cook them well in salt water, and when they are cooked, take them off the fire and dry them to remove the water. Pulverize them and put them in an earthen vessel with equal parts of mandrake and lime, sealed up well with alchemist's looting and properly arranged. That is, the vessel, put down a layer of mandrake and lime, and then on top of it a layer of powdered bone, and so successively until the vessel is full. Melt all this by cooking it for 1 night on a fire of manure. Then remove the aforesaid vessel from the fire and allow it to cool. Powder the contents and add to them a little clear red copper. Then grind them again, sprinkling them with human blood from a vein, and let it be ground for an entire day and save it for use. When you have finished, melt the first body and add it to the second body, little at a time, until the two are fully blended into one another. When this is done, take it off the fire and let it cool, and you will find its color to be spotted. This stone may then be worked on a lathe to the desired size in a spherical form. Thereafter you should labor at this work with the words and ceremonies that we have given already in the ritual of perfect nature. When you see rain, snow, or hail, thunder in any place, and you wish to send it away from yourself and the place where it is, say the words we have said before, and raise your right hand, holding that stone towards the sky, and all the aforesaid will be stilled. This stone is composed of the powers and spirits of spiritual things. So that's quite interesting. So you have to have some practical skills to make a thing like that. It also talked about the ritual of perfect nature, which is explained in the Picatrix. I remember you needed all these 4 oils of different things, and you put them in 4 locations, and you do this grand ritual and such. I don't know, I guess you bless the stone with that ritual, so yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. Basically melting different herbs and minerals together. I'm not sure how they said. They said take 4 ounces of hellebore and melt it with white soap water in the fire. I imagine white soap water is a herb, and hellebore I know is a herb. So how do you melt herbs together? I'm not sure what they mean by that. So I have all these questions that I guess, I would need to play around with a lot. It says things like 4 ounces of silver, 4 ounces of lead. So you need to have a little bit of money to do this. Admittedly, this is one of the cheaper ones, which is nice, but still, it's still something that you'd have to spend a bit of money to experiment on it somewhat. But that's just one example from the Picatrix. Whether it works or not, I reckon it works. Who knows? If you do something that crazy, I think you're going to get rewarded by nature itself. Or maybe there's some kind of other natural science that we're not really understanding in this world. That we've, been too indoctrinated into this logical, scientific manner. That's what I find, at least. When you start doing these weird things, you start to experience and find that life isn't really what you think it is. It's a little more fluid. Anyway, yeah, I think that's about good. So, yeah, I hope you got something out of this. Basically, you have to just make a physical body of whatever object it is according to the properties and correspondences of what you want to make, and then you more or less bless it. You can do that through carving things and enchanting the rooms of special qualities. You're using magic. You just have to know a bit about magic. I might talk about that in another video, the actual magic stuff. I don't know. I'll see. Yeah, so try it out yourself if you want. Anyway, other than that, goodbye.